Hello, and thank you for joining us for Witness TV. I'm your host, Rachel Bryson. Well, it's been a busy week for the Diocese of Harrisburg and the Pennsylvania Catholic Conference. In today's show, Gnoza has some important updates on the fight to end human trafficking in our state. We also have a recap of the March for Life and several local events that took place advocating for the protection of all life. But first up this week, we just wrapped up Catholic Schools Week in the Diocese. Now, to celebrate, the 38 Catholic schools within our diocese all held special events. From open houses, faith bees, special guest educators, and masses with Bishop Gaynor, each school in the diocese uses this week to highlight the benefits of a Catholic school education. Well, we visited 3 schools in the diocese to get a first-hand look at their Catholic Schools Week activities.
This is my first Catholic Schools Week as pastor anywhere, and so it's very new to me. But the importance of it is to show how great our schools are, how we're more than just a place to learn academics, but that we're a family focused on Jesus and doing things he would want us to be doing and growing in that faith. And so the whole idea of this week is to make it kind of an energized feeling around the campus so that people get excited about how great our kids are here and how they're growing and just how great a family we are here at St. Pat's. So that's kind of why we do it. I think it was a great day. Our kids were having fun, learning, doing. It's so great to see so many clergy here and religious here to help out with Vocation Day. And so the kids were just so great during the conversations with the priests and the nuns, asking questions about why we do what we do. So it was just a really good day.
Wow, I'm pretty exhausted, but excited. It was a great day, a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun. We always start with our Vocation Day, so the kids can see all the priests and all the religious sisters, seminarians, deacons. So it was wonderful. It was really great.
It's such an important week because as Catholics, we like to, show the children how special they are to be in a Catholic school. But we also need for them to understand what everyone else is doing for them. For example, all the vocations that we had today. They get to hear from the priests, they get to hear from sisters, deacons, seminarians about why the Catholic faith is so important. And then they can maybe see themselves in the future as having a part in it, of the Catholic faith in a different way. So it's a great week. It really is. It's very exciting. It's very busy, but it puts the excitement in education, vocations, faith, and it kind of ties it all together. We have a literacy day. We involve our parents. We also involve the community because we have a service project that we're doing with the community, and we also have an adoration day so the kids understand and value the Eucharist. It's a way for us to teach the kids that for them to soar as leaders in their academics, in their extracurricular, and in their faith, to be proud of their faith. It's using their faith throughout the entire day, through all their academics, all their core subjects, all their extracurricular, and to understand it, know it, and love it. And then we hope they live through Jesus Christ for the rest of their life by all the things that they live here. And you can't get that anywhere else but in a Catholic school.
I'm the director of the Little Mermaid Junior, which we are putting on this week. It's been very exciting. We've been working since the beginning of October, so but everything is coming together very well. It kind of has been a tradition. They used to do a play here, I guess for years, and then they kind of gotten pushed away, but we decided to bring it back, and we decided to keep it on Catholic Schools Week to kind of celebrate our schools and show what a Catholic school can do. I think it's so important because not only does it teach our kids values that we all hold so dear, but there's so much camaraderie and love in this school and all the Catholic schools that I've seen. I think it's just a great way for kids to grow up and to learn.
It's going to be hard leaving next year because it's so much of the teachers and so much of the stuff we do that we just have to leave behind as we go to high school.
Yeah, it's family here, like everyone's family. I'd say it gives us a good religious education.
Yeah. I like that we get to celebrate church together every Friday. It's really nice, and we get the opportunity to, if we want, we can be in the choir, up in the choir loft. So it's really a good opportunity, so I like that.
It's a good community to join and a good education. So.
The teachers they're really nice, and they do a lot of fun like crafts and stuff like that, and you learn a lot about like jobs and like just our faith. That's where it kind of starts, and I still remember a lot of the stuff I learned in kindergarten from here.
Because I think Catholic education not only providing good academics, but providing a sense of family and community, a sense of love and growth that, you know, they may not see in public schools or wherever they're sending their children. There's just more here than just academics. There's a family that's growing in faith, and that's what makes life important.
The diocese has almost 10,000 students enrolled in our 38 Catholic schools. Changing gears, last week it's estimated that more than 100,000 people attended the March for Life in Washington, D.C. Well, several local parishes in the diocese also held events for the faithful who were not able to attend the march in person, but still wanted their prayers and voices to be joined with those in D.C. We caught up with pro-life advocates at these local events in Lebanon, Lancaster, and Mechanicsburg.
I am the chair of the St. Paul's Pro-Life Committee Ministry, have been for a number of years, and we started this. It was an idea of getting active as some of us are getting a little older and not wanting to go down, spend the whole day out in the cold, which is always in January. So a pro-life advocate friend of mine said, why don't you do something local? So that's what we decided. We weren't going to march, but we would line the streets. So we started getting some, and we'd add a few as time went on. So 11 years ago, we started our first one, and we had a good turnout. And we've been doing it ever since. And Deacon Wenzel is very kind to do a prayer service afterwards. Now we have a little bit of a lunch and fellowship afterwards. And it is a great event because there's not many people walking downtown at this time of year, but the traffic through Lebanon is great, especially around the lunch hour. And so we make an impact with different kinds of signs. You see this Choose Life, there's some other with babies. We do show some graphic abortion pictures because, as Father Frank Pavone says, America will never end abortion if America never sees what it is. So that's what we're trying to do, bring an awareness of what abortion is and the many aspects of it, and that life is sacred and life is important and beautiful. We have a lot of people from around the deanery here come, and not just Catholics, but other Christians. And we have been really fortunate. It's been providential that we have not had any incidences as such. Every so often, 1 year or so, not last year, year before, policeman came and was very concerned about the crowd. I do have a permit from the city to do this, so we are allowed to do this. This is our First Amendment right to assemble, to speak the truth out in the public. I think that if you were doing this by yourself or only with another friend, it would be daunting. But with a crowd like this is how people get involved. If they can do something with a group of like-minded people, they're more apt to come out and do something else. So we start little by little. We encourage them to come out and do another event. I'm going to encourage them this year to come out for the Pennsylvania March for Life in May. Sometimes pro-life ministry seems a little scary and daunting to people, but it shouldn't be, because really you're speaking the truth. This is the Catholic teaching, our doctrine, that life is sacred, life is important, and we need to defend it. I like doing this because I think the local aspect, if more and more cities would do it, more towns would do it, that message will resound. And that's why it is good to see that there are a lot of towns and cities across the states doing similar things or marches within their city.
Today, we're very fortunate to have the president, the first president ever to be at the rally, at the walk, and to actually speak to all the walkers, which is just a great, great opportunity for America to see that there are a lot of pro-life people. And here today, what we started, this is our 4th year, and we had like an open mic we wanted all the people who came to ask questions and to respond, because we don't get many opportunities to get a group of 60 plus people to talk about abortion. So it worked out very well, had some good ideas, and I think the people enjoyed it. They gave a good message and exactly what they're doing in their churches and the response they receive from their congregation. So it was a plus to hear that there's more and more pro-life groups out in the churches.
We're here in front of the memorial to the Unborn, which was dedicated by the Knights Council years ago. And we've had our indoor walk here at the church for the past 4 years. This is the first year we've done the blessing of the memorial outdoors here today, and we were very blessed to have Father Dan Powell join us and read a prayer and do a blessing for us. We do feel that the parishes at the local level are important to be involved, just to be able to allow people who can't make it to Washington, either for health reasons or scheduling reasons, to feel like they can participate and become involved. And we really feel strongly about keeping the message of pro-life out there in the public, not just in the parish, but to get out in the street. And that's why we promote 40 Days for Life so strongly.
The more you think about it, you know, it's the right thing to do. Please take time to pray for the unborn every day.
Today we're having a small gathering to parallel the big event that is happening in Washington, D.C. for the March for Life.
We've had a Respect Life ministry in this parish for many, many years. I've been involved in that from almost the beginning. And we've gone through various forms and everything of forming it into different things. Used to take bus loads down to Washington. We drive down, we take our youth group, we go with Respect Life people in our group. And about 8 years ago, I had surgery on my knee and I couldn't make the trip down to Washington. But I still wanted to be involved in something. So I asked Monsignor, I said, is it possible we could do something here at church? He said, sure, and why not? So we had a few people. And over the years now, it's just evolved into something, bigger, and so we made it a full-day event.
We need to raise increasing consciousness of what it means to truly have faith that we're created by God, that we're created in His image, that we have value. There has been a slow erosion over decades of turning away from any awareness of the supernatural, of taking divine authority seriously. And of course, those decisions have consequences. And it bears the fruit of pain and death and disillusionment. And we see that in our culture all around us, but they do not understand that at the root of it, it's loss of faith. And so certainly in the church, we do not want our people to be affected by that, but we also want our people to be energized so that they can give witness to their faith and show that there is something better.
Now, the National March for Life takes place every year during the month of January. For those who were unable to attend the National March, you have another opportunity this spring. For the first time, a March for Life will be held in Pennsylvania. The march is on May 18th, beginning at 11 a.m. at the State Capitol building in Harrisburg. For the most up-to-date information on the Pennsylvania March for Life, visit pamarchforlife.org. Changing gears again, human trafficking is an issue across our great Commonwealth and can be found right here in our diocese. Gnoza from the Pennsylvania Catholic Conference recently met with several representatives in our state legislature to talk about the steps they are taking to combat this issue. Al?
Time for a check now of what is going on at the state capitol. I'm Gnoza, the communications director for the Pennsylvania Catholic Conference, and that is the group that lobbies for the state's Catholic bishops. And we at the PCC have worked with lawmakers and with advocates to craft legislation that would fight the epidemic, the problem, the scourge of society of human trafficking. A package of bills to stiffen penalties for those connected to the crimes has just passed the House. The day that happened, a large group of Republicans came to the Capitol to offer their support for the legislation. Here is Majority Leader Brian Cutler.
Thanks to many of my colleagues who are wearing blue today. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and wearing blue is one symbol to help raise the awareness regarding human trafficking. And many of our colleagues and friends are doing just that today. Human trafficking is one of those things that truly we find hard to believe. We can't conceive that it's happening close to our homes, our schools, our neighborhoods, our churches, or even in our own families. But the fact is, whether we want to think about it or not, it is happening right here in Pennsylvania. It's not limited to the largest cities or just our national borders. It's happening all across the country and in every corner of the state, in communities like all of ours. I live in southern Lancaster County, as many of you know, and my district that I'm privileged to represent is known for its rich rural history and agricultural community. Truth is, Route 30 also runs through the district. And you can ask anyone who studies the issue, and the Route 30 corridor is one of the areas and is a huge target for law enforcement trying to crack down on this horrible scourge on society.
One of the ongoing stories at the Capitol involves the governor's decision to close 2 state health centers that care for people with severe disabilities, those being Polk and Whitehaven. The PCC has supported efforts to delay those closings because we, like many, are concerned about what will happen when these residents are let out into society. Now, a group of stakeholders and lawmakers is filing suit to stop the governor from closing those facilities. I attended their press conference and have sound bites coming up here from first Representative Tara Toohill, then Representative Lee James.
And we're trying not to vilify the other side. The community setting is excellent, and there are good community settings, but we cannot ensure that all of them are up to par, and we don't want to vilify them. It shouldn't be 2 sides pitted against each other in the way that it is, but the residential setting has been shut out time and time again. And we've heard from families like the Jennings family who has had lawsuits and has fought against Department of Human Services just to have choice. And constitutionally, we stand here today saying there should be choice.
It's unfortunate we've come to this point where we actually have to resort to the courts to do the right thing. But I believe our mission here today is the right thing. My name is Lee James. I represent the 64th Legislative District, which includes all of Venango County, where Polk Center is, also a bit of Northeast Butler. But I stand with Representatives Mullery and Toohill to save Whitehaven as well. Selinsgrove and Evansburg. I know you're a bit nervous. Trust me, you're in the crosshairs too.
Back in October, we at the PCC joined lawmakers and advocates to unveil the Heartbeat Anti-Abortion Bill. It would prevent an abortion once a heartbeat is detected in the fetus. The bill was sponsored by Representative Stephanie Borowitz in the House and Senator Doug Mastriano in the Senate. I visited once again with Senator Mastriano to talk about that bill. But first, we have some thoughts from our executive director of the PCC, Eric Failing.
It's a great bill. You know, to me, it's very simple. When a mom goes in for a checkup and you hear her heartbeat, that means that she's alive. I mean, I used to be a volunteer firefighter. When somebody's heart would stop, the first thing we would do is we would begin CPR and then bring out the AED to bring them back to life. And to do that, we have to get their heart started again. The fetal heartbeat bill only says that, look, if mom goes in and there's 2 heartbeats, that means there's another life. So once you detect a second heartbeat, you cannot kill that life.
The whole point of the heartbeat bill is if this baby has a heartbeat, and normally the baby has a heartbeat between 6 and 7 weeks, it shouldn't be aborted. If it has a heartbeat, you hear him, you hear her, and that baby, she or he, needs a chance to live. And so Stephanie Borowitz and myself and so many members of the House and Senate are behind this bill. It's time for us to defend life. The really troubling thing to me is we have about 30,000 abortions a year in Pennsylvania these days, sometimes as high as 31,000 a year. And most of them are later abortions, which can occur, several months into the abortion. That's clearly a little baby there, and we need to protect that life. What's even more troubling is that 60% of the abortions happens in the African American and the Latino population in our state. So we actually have a genocide going on where a disproportionate group of the population that makes up roughly 20% of our people, of our citizens, supply more than half the abortions. So that's something really nefarious going on here. So we hear a lot from the left of what about the social justice of various people groups? What about the social justice of these people here that are being exterminated and not given a chance? It's a separate person. It's not your body, it's not your choice. It's an individual that deserves a right to life. Science is on our side. We made the case brilliantly at the heartbeat bill announcement back in October, right here in the Capitol building. And it was so compelling that normally a hostile press, the majority of the press actually gave us positive coverage. It was just so compelling. We had so many testimonials there. A young lady adopted out of China talking about the murder of the unborn based off of gender, because they want to have boys and are limited. They used to be limited on how many kids they can have. We had Cathy Barnett from Fox News, and she stood up there, a great person with a fantastic story. And when I invited her to be our keynote speaker for the heartbeat bill announcement, I had no idea what her story was. Her story was she was conceived in a rape, and her mom was 11 years old. And she stood up there and said, because we always hear about, okay, what about these exceptions, rape, incest, and health of the mother. And she stood up there and said, don't I have value and worth? I'm standing before you here. And I looked out and saw the media behind the stage, and most of them are riveted to her story. It's very compelling. When you throw around these little ideas that are so notional and fuzzy, and you see an actual person here, what about her? And so everybody deserves a right to life. And Doug Mastriano, Stephanie Borowitz, and so many other members of the Senate and House have signed up to support these bills. So the status is it was referred to the Health Committee. Hopefully we'll get a vote out of that. And some people say, why bother? Because the governor tweeted at least 3 times against this, saying, I'm going to veto it. Yep. And so if that is a baby, and it is, but let's just take this in a logical basis. If that's a baby and the science and medical evidence we have is right, which it is, it's undeniable, it's observable science, that's a baby with a distinct DNA code, shouldn't we fight for that baby? Shouldn't we do the right thing regardless of what the governor or any other leader says? Absolutely we should fight for him or her. We have to fight for that.
All right, I also checked back in with Representative Mike Jones of York County, who appeared at the original unveiling of the heartbeat bill.
And there were 3 or 4 of us that spoke in support of it that day, and I was very honored to be one of those. In particular, I talked about the fact that my wife and I have adopted 4 children from Russia in our case, I know that there's a lot of, it's not an easy subject, and we certainly need to do all we can to come beside young mothers and, that find themselves in these situations. But as I shared that day, I know from personal experience that the solution is adoption, in my opinion. So I was happy to speak on behalf of the bill in general and to share a little bit of our story, to personalize it a little bit.
Oh, and getting back to Senator Mastriano, last month he held a committee meeting to look at ways to cut down on bureaucracy and red tape. He took aim at the Department of Environmental Protection. We talked about that at our most recent meeting.
I'm down with the outdoors, but DEP is running amok. They've come up with a cunning scheme here to transfer wealth out of my district and other districts back to Harrisburg, which is going to get filtered to Philadelphia and elsewhere. Once again, the money will be thrown to the corners. And the latest scheme, of course, is with the MS4, the Municipal Separate Sewer Storage System. It's a separate utility. So they've created a separate utility, and they're coming against business owners, property owners, eventually be farmers with agriculture, eventually hit them up to anyone that has runoff to any minor stream, no matter what they say. phosphates and other things. The number, we have no idea because we don't have history. We have modeling. The same modeling that predicts what's going to happen to the Earth 1,000 years from now. Similar modeling, I've asked to look at these models and they refused to show it to me actually when I was at DEP a few months back. And so we have municipalities and local governments being charged exorbitant fees. Businesses, or if you have a large paved impervious surfaces, if you have, parking lots and what have you, they're going to charge you a certain tax off of that because that runs off to this and to the sewage and blah, blah, blah. And for instance, one business owner in Franklin County said he had to build a little metal storage shed, which cost him $40,000 to put up. But DEP showed up and he had to sink another $100,000 to build a mosquito pit for the runoff. And this is another thing. These people at DEP, I swear, there's a madness. So to focus on imagined regulation from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, has regulations with the Clean Water Act and various, in Chesapeake Bay Commission, there's various agreements and regulations driving this. But I have the entire EPA regulation printed off. It's at my desk in Chambersburg. It's a couple hundred pages. And nowhere in there can me or my staff find how DEP is justifying this rainwater tax. That's what I call it. MS4 is a stupid name for it. This rainwater tax. They've even come against some golf courses in my district. We're going to charge you for evaporation. It's okay. This is out of control. We need to rein these guys in.
I promise to keep you updated on any developments there. All right, finally, one of the many things that we at the PCC will be working on in the months to come will be adding an air of civility to political discourse. Just because we disagree, that doesn't mean you're a jerk. I don't think it means I'm a jerk. We just disagree. Let's try to be civil about it. Here once again is PCC Executive Director Eric Failing, followed by Representative Patty Kim.
Look, we don't agree with all the groups on all the issues, and that's okay. But what we do agree on is that hate is an inappropriate response for disagreement. That's got to stop.
I'm really interested in developing more relationships because that's how you get things done. Yelling at each other out does not work. Throwing stones at each other does not work. So just slowly after the almost 8 years I've been there, building relationships with Republicans and Democrats, that's how you get things done. You may not get everything, but we're moving one step, sometimes a baby step forward, and that's good. That's progress. And so that's what I hope to continue to do over my next term if I win re-election.
Oh, I can't imagine you yelling at anyone.
That's my husband.
Does she yell?
That's my husband.
Okay,
my coworkers. Yeah, I can yell.
Well, thanks, Al. That does it for us, and we hope you enjoyed this week's show. To learn more about the Pennsylvania Catholic Conference and the Diocese of Harrisburg, please visit pacatholic.org and hbgdiocese.org. From all of us at the Diocese and the Catholic Conference, thank you for watching and have a great week.